The 18 Strong Podcast, episode number 354 with Brian Bradley from Igasku. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the 18 Strong Podcast, where we're here to help you build a stronger game because we believe that everybody deserves to play better longer. This episode we have with our good friend, Brian Bradley. I think this is Brian's third time coming on the 18 Strong Podcast. Brian is the Vice President and Head of Brand Development and Special Programs over at Igasku. He's also on a mission to help millions of people learn how to live healthier lives and basically achieve complete fitness and pain-free way of living. Brian speaks and consults with tons of corporations all over the world, doing training for corporations and other organizations like Tony Robbins, the Titleist Performance Institute, as well as the NFL and YPO. In this episode, we talk about all kinds of different things. In fact, what I love about having Brian on the show is we always go in many different directions that I don't anticipate going in. We talk about living in pain and really how we can utilize the idea of pain and change our perspective on pain. Rather than it being something bad and something that we have to deal with, it can actually be an alert of something that needs to be changed or something that we can do to make ourselves better. And we even talk about some other random things, including breast implants, so stay tuned for that. But Brian is always an incredible guest on the show, and I know you're going to enjoy this one. Our partners over at Linksole have been providing us with the best apparel for both on the course and off the course, from polos to t-shirts like the one I have on right now. Everything that they have is meant to be worn from the golf course to wherever you're going next, whether that be casual, whether that be to the beach. There's all different options over there. So go to 18strong.com/Linksole. You'll get 20% off of anything in your cart over on Linksole's website. So again, 18strong.com/Linksole for our favorite brand of apparel for anything on the golf course and off. Now let's get to this week's interview. Brian Bradley, welcome back to the 18 Strong Podcast.
Buddy, so good to be here. It's been such a long time.
I know. We got to catch up on all your pickleball and everything that you're doing these days. You're traveling all over. You're at the Tony Robbins events. Tell me a little bit about the pickleball these days, because it used to be that you're playing a ton of table tennis, but now I see pickleball everywhere.
Yeah, listen, the difference between the two sports is one's not as nerdy as the other. And pickleball is the most social sport I've ever seen in my life. Like, you know, when you go golfing with your friends or whoever, let's say you get thrown into a foursome, you're all pretty good friends by the time you're done, depending on how much money you take from them. Pickleball, I played for 3 hours yesterday total and played with 14 different people. 6 or 8 of them I didn't even know. Now we're all pretty connected. It's just amazing. So it's just much more social. There's going to be 70 million people doing it by 2030. And, you know, that's why, you know, I saw this a while ago and I'm like, okay, so that's why I started paying free pickleball for that kind of stuff, not to teach how to, it's like teaching golf, right? I know just enough to be dangerous to be teaching golf, but you shouldn't be teaching golf, Brian. Leave that to the pro. So I'll leave it to the teachers. What I am going to show you is how your body's moving on the court that is not serving you. So when you go for a backhand, just hitting it back across, which they call a dink. I don't know where the word came from. Nice, slow ping pong shot across, but you didn't bend your legs or your knees or your ankles. 100% of that went into your lumbar spine. Your low back takes a beating and you wonder why I got hurt by pickleball. Mm-hmm. That's more embarrassing than saying CrossFit hurt me. Come on.
Yeah, I would imagine that, you know, and I've even heard this from a few docs that I know that, and it used to be CrossFit. It's funny that you said that because a bunch of orthopedic surgeons used to say CrossFit was the best thing to ever happen to their profession. And I have now heard them switch that over to pickleball or say that, you know, that's kind of the up and coming version of it because they see so many people. And to your point, most just aren't prepared to be out there moving and cutting and dinking and doing all these different kind of activities because they haven't prepared their body. They aren't doing the things on a regular basis, or they just don't know what they need to be able to do out there, and they just jump right in.
Listen, Dave Phillips from TPI and I are out at a couple car events because we're both car guys, like to go to the track, stuff like that. When we start talking pickleball, he's like, dude, I see you're killing it. You're doing this, blah, blah, blah. look, the highest I'll ever get is probably a 4.5. Like, I'm not going to go for a 5.0 and go to the senior pro BS, all that stuff. I actually enjoy the rest of my life outside of pickleball. But they're going to start a whole certification and division, I guarantee you, because of it. Just the numbers.
It makes sense. I mean, just like golf, helping people prepare, especially because there's such a huge population of non-professional players, right? People that, just like in golf, you can play this up to whatever age you want to play it, but that also means there's that much larger of a population that needs to be prepared or needs to be in preventative treatments for those injuries or post rehab related stuff from the injuries. And so it's a huge market. And I'm sure we're going to talk about a lot of the crossover of things that we need to prepare our body for, both for pickleball, for golf, and how we can remedy or how we can prevent a lot of really some of these useless injuries that shouldn't even happen.
Well, listen, and I'm not judging what you just said, other than I'm judging it. Let's take the word useless out of there and go these absolutely useful injuries. Because now if we start viewing them as a gift, they're there to teach us something. My body's not working the way that it should. The injury is a signal. I just put this stuff up yesterday on a post on my Instagram talking about, guys, you've got to start moving. This is you we're talking about. Start asking better questions. Well, the whole premise was move better, not just move better. And you and I have been in this mindset for well over a decade more, I mean, just with golf. But I would, back in the day when I sat there and watched Jack Nicklaus hitting, and I'm calling my dad going, I just paid Jack Nicklaus a golf lesson. And he was like, yeah, so much for golf. It wasn't that I was teaching him golf. Very simply, it was, in a basic nutshell, are you able to separate? Well, we do the same thing with our NFL teams. I take an offensive lineman, left tackle, who's the real, he's got to be the guy that's protecting the backside, the blind side. He gets down in his stance and his butt's up like this and his head's down. He's already a second slower. Take a look at the Niners and just watch Bosa. He's lining up and he's like this. He is literally like an animal that's ready to attack you that way, not here and then having to lift. And when all you have to do is give them the disassociation test, which we can show your people here if they haven't seen it in a while. It's the number one, in my opinion, the number one way to assess whether somebody has athletic ability or not. Second would be the hanging test. Are you hinging from the pelvis or are you bending from your back? I don't care how you look. It's how are you moving? And then I'll give them the Jeff to go golf specific or whatever you're into now, that kind of stuff. So for me, it's just such a diverse thing. Like, rotational athletics is what I'm interested in. But if you think of every sport including walking, they're all rotational athletics.
Right. Yeah, everything revolves around just movements of the body. You mentioned just learning to move better. When you say that, what are some of the things that you see people doing on a regular basis? I love watching your Instagram because sometimes you'll just like take a snapshot of just, people in the wild and just draw little pictures or little arrows showing what we all tend to do just naturally, positions we hold ourselves in, ways that we walk that aren't really natural, aren't the way that we should be doing. Can you give us a little insights and maybe people can kind of catch themselves on a few of the things that they might be doing on a regular basis that you would take a picture of and snapshot and point that out?
So for those of you that are driving, wait until you get home to look at this visual. But if you're looking at it now, I'm going to show you a gait video, somebody walking. I was in Florida, and thank God I rented from Turo because I got a Tesla so I could sneak up on him because there's no noise, right? I was like the creeper 55-year-old sneaking up on this dude. But just take a look at bilateral. For those of you listening and don't understand that, just very simply, you should be balanced from left to right. The same arm swing, the same leg swing, the same calf size on the other side. The feet are turned out on one side, they should at least both be turned out. If you're going to have your feet turning out, then have them be equal. So think of balance when you're looking at this and then say, is this person balanced? Look at the lack of arm swing on one side versus the other.
Right.
Look at the calf size on one side versus the other.
You can even see him kind of tipping and leaning and walking to one side.
Yeah, because he's trying to pick up a leg that no longer works, which is why he leans that direction. That's the arm that's over swinging. The other one's not swinging. So as a therapist, we could go, no, that arm doesn't swing. That's a problem. Versus that arm doesn't swing. I wonder if it's trying to lock itself down to protect you in some way. So I'm a glass half full guy. And I'm going, the body will never make a mistake. Even with that gait, there's nothing wrong with it. They're just trying to get from point A to point B. They're just doing it like this. Whereas you and I might be doing it like this. Doesn't mean we're better, just means we're better aligned. So I got the guy and I said, hey, excuse me, sir, how are you? Now, first of all, you're driving a Tesla 3, so he's probably not threatened, because you never hear about gang members going, they pulled up in a Tesla 3 and they killed everybody. So you know what I'm saying? He's not really that guy. So I pulled up, it's probably pretty safe. I said, excuse me, can I show you something? You're out exercising today. Why are you doing it? I'm in the field. I work with a lot of pro athletes. I dropped 3 or 4 names. So he went, oh, I remember those guys, older golfers and stuff like that. I said, look at your walking. And I said, do you notice how one arm doesn't swing? And he goes, well, I have a lot of pain. But I applaud you for being out here to try to lose weight, be more functional, get strong. He said, yeah, I retired down here a while ago, but my body didn't get the message. So what do you think I had him do, Jeff? I have literally 30 seconds to impress the guy as I'm the creeper or I'm the hero to him, right? So I'd rather be the second. What do you think I had him do?
I'm going to guess you had him stand up, maybe turned his toes in, locked his hands behind his head, and pulled his elbows all the way back. That's going to be my guess.
Yes, except I didn't have him stay still. I said, will you do me a favor and walk 20 yards forward, 20 yards back with your hands like this? Drop your traps, elbows back. Completely different. Completely different. Jeff, it was so simple that the guy came back. He's like, what just happened? I don't hurt. And I said, well, you're not any thinner either, but you'd like to be. So why don't you do some of your walk with your hands on your head, and maybe your ass will pay you back? Because now you're moving your lymph system. Now you're really getting a good heel strike. Listen, there's a heel strike. That's how you cure glute amnesia, by getting the heel to hit correctly. For those of you listening, walk around your house, put your hands on your butt cheek. Every time your heel hits the ground, your glute should fire. That means my foot's in front of me, Jeff, when my glute fires, to help me transition back to the mid stance and back through terminal. So why do we go to the gym and do butt blasters where we're donkey kicking behind us? It makes no sense. That's why when I'm talking to guys like Lance Gill, he's like, you know what, it's interesting because I do a lot of these glute amnesia things and their glute amnesia is no better. Like, buddy, glute amnesia is a positive. Their glutes aren't firing for a reason. Now dig into that. And for this guy, it was change his thoracic spine. How about for this guy? Before and after.
Yeah, right.
That's no different than what you just saw. Except in the green shorts, I got him 14 days before that green fight. And look at the difference. And he punched the guy in the MMA fight with the top of his shoulder 4 times and broke his nose with his shoulder.
For those of you listening, that was a picture of Conor McGregor that Brian had worked with. And that's something that I had always noticed about Conor, and I guess most of us in the field would, is the way that he would stand was so internally rotated, rounded shoulders, thoracic spine really flexed over, and it always just looked so strange to me. But you're right, that picture. So for those of you that are listening, definitely go to YouTube and watch the video so you can see that picture of the difference in his posture there. It's amazing.
Listen, I don't like to disparage him because if he gets pissed off, he knows where I am and he can put a beat down on me. But I can say this, probably one of the top 3 smartest athletes I've ever had the chance to work with. Fred Warner being probably number 1. You saw what he did to Dallas the other day. I mean, the guys, he just gets it. He understands, do your functional movement, and look what he does. Conor was one of those ones that just says, okay, pa, pa, pa. Oh, okay, good. That's in this position where he's rounded over.
Right.
We gave him one exercise, which moved him back, kind of like hands on head, but it was all loaded up. And I said, now throw your punch, because I saw that his feet went from 45 degrees out to almost completely straight as he was walking. So I already knew that the base of support was firing better. His psoas, his deep hip muscle, the circuit breaker, was turned back on because his feet got straighter. So now he went pop, pop, pop. He looked at his coach and said, I don't know what it looked like, but that felt so much more crisp and sounded louder and faster. And they were like, whatever you did, keep doing it. Because they were getting the fighter back versus the entrepreneur, the very successful businessman. That doesn't win you fights.
No.
It makes you $200 million a year and the most successful athlete ever. I get it. But comes at a consequence. And maybe part of his stuff was when he was working with Tony Robbins too, where he was going through the psychological stuff, where he threw the thing through the bus at Khabib. Well, I mean, you don't talk stuff. People react like that because they're just in a different mind. Their mind and their hearts aren't synced into one. Is that a word? Synced into one. My God, my dad taught English too. I'm sorry, Father. So, just one of these things where when you can change the body, mind, and spirit together, you have a fighter that showed up for the cowboy fight. When the body is not congruent and the mind and heart are not linked up, then you have the Khabib fight, which is that before picture. He was lost and he knew it. And I got him just by sending him the picture from the fight and said, Khabib cheated. Get a hold of me if you want to talk about it. And it's not that Khabib cheated. Look how Khabib entered the fight. I mean, this is the picture you should be really interested in, is this. Look at Khabib's position versus Conor.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Look at that difference.
That's so drastic between the two of them.
And it wasn't that Conor couldn't fight, he just couldn't breathe. And for those of you who know, your diaphragm is your breathing muscle. Over 24,000 times a day should be firing. My body breathes in and out, front to back. It doesn't paradoxically breathe like this, where I'm heaving up like that.
Can you take us back to the gentleman that you saw walking on the road? And you said you had 30 seconds with him to a minute. Why choose that specific exercise? And can you tell us the cascading effects of how that impacted him so thoroughly from head to toe?
Okay, you ready? This is top secret NASA level information I'm going to give you. This will just show how smart I am. Here's what I said. Well, one arm doesn't move and the other one does. I wonder what happens when he puts his hands on his head and puts them both in the same position. That, honestly, was the genius at work. And remember, you have to know your stuff so well you can, I'm not calling people dumb, but you have to be able to dumb your stuff down. Like, we can get into biomechanics. My talk yesterday was going into rehabilitation of the spine, Pavel Kolaj, Vladimir Yanda, Craig Liebenson, Vojta, Carl Levitt, all these guys from the Czech Republic. And that's science beyond science. But I have to be able to read something and then dumb it down where my little brain can understand it. And then I say, well, I wonder how I could even make it not smaller, more understandable, more relevant to that person. Because, Jeff, think about marketing. Jeff, what do you do for a living? So I'm going to ask that question. What do you do for a living?
I help golfers get stronger so they can play the game longer and better.
Why do you do that? Hold on. Why do you do that?
So I can help them enjoy the game more, so I can help them enjoy their life more, so they can, go through the day with less pain and play the game that they love even better.
I hope everybody heard what he said. He scooted around what and why very well, because he clearly understands his clients. He went right to how it affects them. I don't care what you do, Jeff. I don't even really care. Remember, it's me. I'm the golfer. I don't even really care why you do it. I care how it's going to make me better. I'm selfish. So if we can all just accept that we're all just selfish, speak to how. I'm good at speaking to how, because I don't need my significance jumped up by going, let me tell you what I do and why I do it, and make it about me. I don't care about me. And you're looking at the most selfish human on the planet. I'll get into a 34-degree cold plunge in the morning because it serves me. I'll do infrared at night for 30, 40 minutes because it serves me. Even if it gets in the way of doing something around the house, I'll do that later. Because if I'm not happy, then nobody's happy. You know, it's happy husband, happy life. Okay, that doesn't rhyme at all, but still, we'll come up with something.
You know what? It's funny you mentioned the cold plunge, the infrared. I know that you are really involved in a lot of the restorative care, the recovery, and it's a topic that we hear a lot about. We see people cold plunging. We see people doing cold showers. Cold showers is one of the things that we have our people do during our 40-day forge. But I want to dig into the recovery piece from your perspective. Why is it so important, and why do you take so much time to educate yourself? You mentioned you do it personally for yourself because selfishly you want to feel better, you want to move better. But what are some of the biggest components that we need to know about recovery and how the heat, how the cold, how the infrared, how they impact us?
Okay, here we go. I just made the sign of the cross because I hope I know what I'm talking about. Otherwise, I'm going to send you right to Huberman Lab and let them talk to you about it. Right.
We'll just clip some of Andrew Huberman in here right now.
We should just cut away to Andrew Huberman now talking about cold shock and heat shock proteins. So knowing enough to be dangerous, I don't do any of these for recovery. Zero. What am I recovering from?
Don't know.
Pickleball? Right? But if you think about it, I am recovering from pickleball because it does beat the heck out of me. But I'm not doing it for recovery. I get up in the morning to serve myself, heart, mind, body, whatever, to get in that water. And there's no, Tony Robbins says it perfectly. Once I get in, there's no negotiating. Once I see that water, there's no negotiating. You have to literally say that to yourself. Otherwise, you go right into that sympathetic nervous system and go, I could easily talk myself out of getting in the cold today. 34 degrees. 34 degrees. And listen, does it do more than 50 degrees? On the research side, 49 degrees doesn't really give me more than what 34 degrees does. Except I'll argue with anybody about this. I will argue with you that it does this. I'm just going to give you a visual. Okay, forget this picture with me without a shirt on, but that's what you get, right?
Oh my gosh. Blocks of ice.
But listen how calm. Love it. The water's about 34. Stay in here for 3 to 4 minutes. Get off my nipple. Thank you. Okay, you didn't need that part. Okay, sorry about that part. But, you know, one of those pieces of ice started to head toward my chest and I had to talk to it to get away. But that's 4-inch pieces of ice that I had to break up because it was that cold. Well, that's the psychology. That's the no negotiating. We understand the physical side, what the liver's going to do. So during your 40-day forge, cold showers, in my opinion, are more difficult sometimes because that water is just beating the H out of you. It just never, it's relentless. When you get into freezing calm water, then you can, and there's your sympathetic to parasympathetic shift. There's your control of that cortisol shift. Once you can control, and I know control is an illusion, but let's just use it. Once you can embrace cortisol and sympathetic so it no longer has control of you, can you imagine what the toughest 40-yard putt to win the Open's going to do to you? Absolutely nothing. You may make or miss the putt, but you're not going to miss it because of the yips. You're going to miss it because your caddy aligned you incorrectly. Okay, we'll blame the caddy. But I do it mainly for the hormonal response and my overcoming the, quote, fear of what the water is going to feel like.
That's one of the biggest reasons that we put that in that challenge, because and it's fun to hear people respond when they initially say, oh my God, I can't do that. There's no way. And then they do it and they get out and they're like, I felt like a whole new person when I stepped out of that first shower. And there's one gentleman in particular that I can think of. He did the forge 2 years ago and has done a cold shower every single day since because of that feeling right there. Because of, I didn't want to do it. I told myself I was going to do it. I did it. It sucked, but I got through it. And then, was obviously elated with the change of state, the change of physiology, but it was the building of the confidence level that also changed.
You don't know what you really don't know, right? Until somebody shows you that kind of stuff. What you've done, like Wim Hof, we wouldn't have started really looking at the fascia if it weren't for Thomas Myers doing some guesswork, then some scientific work, and then, whether he's right or wrong about certain things, I don't really care. It's that he's got us to look at, hey, do you realize that I could release your eyebrow up here with pressure points and your plantar fascia goes away? Like, what? Like, no, we were in university, nothing like that was taught, but yet it's effective enough for us to at least look into the research, and it's true. So when you look at cold, the Egoscue method, which is what I do and have been doing it for 33 years, whatever, has completely changed my view. And Pete Egoscue himself is a great question asking therapist. When you report yourself in tears, I have this and blah, 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 and he just goes, okay. He'll let you talk. Because remember, we've said this before, the person in charge of the conversation is the one listening. He's looking for that one opening to speak to how it affects that person. And now we have buy-in forever. That's how I get raving fans who just literally say, I'm in this forever. And then they can't shut up about it. Because when you're given the opportunity to live pain-free, and it takes a minimal dose to get it done. Somebody posted about this thing I did yesterday, and the guy said, you should just go to a chiropractor. Well, if you're not a confident individual in your own line of work and who you are, then you can't give away what you don't have. My answer could have gone two ways. I'm going to take that statement personally. How dare you come on my post and promote chiropractic? I'm not a chiropractor. That's competition. No, it's not. We're in this together.
Mm-hmm.
We both, as a field, want to do this together. So I could have gone left and taken it personally and gotten in a fight. I chose to go right and say, okay, real quick. Yes, chiropractic's amazing. I go to a chiropractor because I want to, not because I have to. When you do your minimal dose of Egoscue every morning, you're now making the chiropractor's job easier, so he or she can now take you to the healing process of why they went into this work in the first place, not to see you over and over and over and over again for the same stuff. So when your people do these cold showers, they are forever hormonally changed. That's what you're hearing, is the hormone change.
When you're talking with different clients, different people that you come into contact with, athletes, and they present with these seemingly impossible injuries or things that they've had in the past, and they feel like they've done everything they can. They can't change. I know that that's not something that you believe in. How do you help them to realize that, first of all, it takes a lot of responsibility on their part to make these changes? Even the gentleman that you saw walking down the road probably doesn't think that at this point of his life he can make a whole lot of changes to make himself better. You showed him in a quick glimpse that there are things. How do you break that barrier when somebody kind of pushes back on that? And how do what would you tell our audience that is maybe struggling with pain, maybe struggling with something that they've been dealing with for a long time and they haven't been able to find that answer yet?
Change your verbal relationship with pain. So I'm going to read you something. And this book is Rehabilitation of the Spine, just some light reading. Yeah, it's a lot. But over my shoulder here, and then we'll talk about the biocharger. And not that other than, remember we were talking about biohacking and the crazy stuff we're doing. This thing's just crazy sick. So pain equals harm that's their relationship with pain. Okay, I have pain. And if I get on that bike again, it hurt me last time. So now the bike hurt me. Now I have a bad relationship with biking or golfing. And yet you want them to get over it. We got to change that from pain equals harm to pain equals I wonder what it means. It's a message. It's a signal. Well, I wonder what that signal is. And the signal doesn't have to be the police lights where it's blue and red and you're going, oh no, somebody's going to get arrested for bad things. I view it as Christmas lights. It's here for a good reason. Like, it's Christmas. Let's learn from those lights. Let's learn from that signal so that we can break the cycle, because even when the pain goes away, that bike, that son of a bike, think about that person getting angry every time they look in the garage because that $7,000 bike that hurt them still on the wall. Well, it's not. It's not. You got to break that cycle by helping them embrace it. So it's like my niece got kicked in the face, literally, by a horse when she was younger. Destroyed her whole face, got surgeries, all that stuff, or whatever, healed it. But think about the PTSD that goes with that. Does she ever want to be around a horse again?
Likely not.
It's that movie, The Horse Whisperer. It's literally that movie. And, Robert Redford, the Horse Whisperer, was able to change the psychology by going, the horse did not want to hurt you. The bike didn't want to hurt you. The golf club didn't want to hurt you. CrossFit didn't want to hurt you. Break the harm cycle. But again, you can't give away what you don't have. If you don't have a belief system as a practitioner that the body is trying to tell me something versus something's wrong, you're always focused on something's wrong. And I'm not saying ignore kidney symptoms, ignore liver symptoms, and don't get an MRI to see if it's the C word. You got to go check that stuff. But even at that point, damn, I was diagnosed with cancer. Okay, let's get busy. Or let's get busy dying.
Mm-hmm.
I choose let's get busy. If it's my time, it's my time. I'm here for a good time, not a long time. Right? But I'd like to live. I'm 55. I'm 1/3 of the way through my life. I have a long time left. So if I believed in the harm, then everything about it is harmful. And then what happens is you go to fear avoidance equals deconditioning, and then the endurance starts to wail because you start to go to bed rest. That Instagram I posted yesterday, 10% strength loss for every week you're immobilized. When you immobilize a knee, you get permanent changes in how the knee is able to relate to different movements, and the capsule shrinks and all these different things happen. Now, I don't ever believe permanent is permanent. I believe you can interrupt permanent with the correct alignment over my left shoulder. Once you establish that, then everything becomes non-permanent again. I think you can start that healing process, as we've seen with people with bunions.
I want to take just a second to thank our new partner, which I'm really excited to announce, is First Form. First Form is a company that is here in St. Louis, based in St. Louis. It's a nutritional company that is doing incredible things in the world of nutrition. And one of the reasons that we decided to partner with First Form is obviously we're very impressed with their dedication to their products and the quality of the products. But really it's the dedication to them and them helping their customers get real results. Aside from just the products, we got a chance to go and actually visit the facility, again, here in St. Louis, and really walk the halls of the corporate offices, but we got to see the manufacturing plant or the warehouse. And it's not just a place where they're packaging supplements and shipping them out. It's a culture, it's a community, and you can see that amongst the employees. You can see that their culture and their core values that are not just pieces of art on their wall, they're actually living them there, and they're helping to expand those into the community. And really that's why we partner with First Form. Obviously their products are incredible, otherwise we wouldn't suggest them either. We use them on a regular basis. So you're gonna be hearing a lot more about their products and what they can do for your fitness, what they can do for your golf game, the protein powders, the multivitamins, the protein sticks, the hydration packets. All of those products we're gonna highlight in future episodes, but we just wanted to really celebrate our new partnership with First Form. You can go to their website, firstform.com/18strong. And we're gonna be doing a giveaway every single month with anybody that buys through that link. So go to firstform.com, that's PHORM, plunges.com/18 strong. That'll take you directly to their website, and you can check their whole suite of products. It's including some of their fitness apparel, and anything that's purchased over there, you're going to be enrolled into our list for our giveaway. I saw you make a post. This might have been a couple years ago, and I thought it was really interesting because at first I was like, I'm not even sure what he's talking about here, but you were talking about faith. And you said that it's important to have faith in your healing. And I think when people hear faith, they think of different things. But you said it's important to have faith in the fact that what you're doing is going to get you there, and the methods that you're doing. Because if you don't have faith, you're not gonna be committed to doing the right things, right? You're not going to be committed to doing your daily Agasku. You're not going to be committed to doing your, as we like to call our EFDs. Can you speak on that a little bit about knowing the right track that you're moving on? Because I think that many times we're in this place where you have back pain, you have hip pain, neck pain, shoulder pain, whatever it is, and you have all these different things you're trying. You're scrolling through Instagram, you see Brian Bradley post something, you see somebody else post something, you see all these different exercises, and we all have this, fix it now mentality, and we don't know where to start. We don't know where to go. And so if you don't know which one's right, you keep grasping at straws. But when you recognize that there is a path, how do you help somebody figure out what that path is and give them that faith to continue and be committed and compliant?
Again, this is very scientific, almost NASA level stuff here. You ready?
We're sharing it all.
You've got the hashtag STFU, because if you don't, then you're no longer listening for the opening. Remember I said Pete Agoski was a master at listening for connection. That's what I learned because I love to talk. But only when there's a goal. The goal would be to help that other person. So if my goal is to help that other person, let's find the easiest route there by just actively listening to them. Tell me your story. Take your time. Here's a box of tissues. Okay, great. So I just have a question about your car wreck. Are you driving again? Well, of course. Where'd you drive to last time? Let's see where I'm taking them. Well, I went to Walmart. What'd you get? Well, I just bought stuff for the house. And then you drove home. Yeah. But you've changed their state about that injury or that PTSD tied to this. That will help them with the quote, faith in their own body by getting rid of the pain equals harm. That's not faith. That's being scared. I'm not telling you not to be scared. We all have reasons to be scared. Look at what's happening in the Middle East right now. I don't even live there and I'm scared for all of them. And this divergence, we have to literally find a way to have these discussions. I have faith that it's going to remedy itself at a certain point. I truly do. It's not going to be tomorrow, I can tell you that. But if you don't have faith in, and it's a glass half full kind of thing, then you're always looking for problems. Imagine dating somebody who's always looking for problems. And that's an analogy I give to people sometimes. Do you hear yourself? You're always negative. How's that ever going to be positive? If you're always, well, the other shoe's going to drop. Bro, I was watching this show on Netflix the other day, and I recommend everybody to watch this series. Whether you agree or not, I don't care. The Fab Five from Queer Eye, remember those guys?
Yeah.
Dude, they just did a new series where they're going into people's homes and businesses and doing makeovers on everything. But there's a young black man that's in there with them, who's one of the five. And his play on psychology and how he understands and listens, I think the guy's amazing. And the guy that does the hair, who wears the dressings, he's so flamboyant, makes the show, of course. But to watch these guys have good intentions, I can't stress enough what you'll learn just by watching the show. And they had a young man in there. We had a really kind of beautiful fro. And he was I'm teaching people how to garden in their city to bring people that aren't wealthy, healthy food. I mean, come on, it's so great on what he's really focused on. But he had no idea because he didn't grow up like this. And here's what he always said. I don't ever dress well because, well, I don't feel like I deserve it. I go into these board meetings with dirt on my fingernails and all this stuff. And people look at me and I'm asking them for $100,000 to fund this. Excuse me. But you can't give away what you don't have. And he didn't have self-confidence, self-love until they got involved and said, are you kidding? So we're going to make you over physically. We're going to help you understand things mentally. We're going to have you walk into a new house with your wife. Everything's new because it's time to step away from who you were, not step away from what you were doing and what your goal is, but you got to bring something new to it. And I was traveling, so I got to binge this a little bit. It was amazing to watch what they're doing. Now, we're going to listen. I live in the Tony Robbins world, which is, what if you ask a different question? What if you do make that 2 millimeter shift and your faith, your belief takes over versus you going, well, I hope to someday be successful. Well, there's a big hole in hope. And when we get clients in chronic pain or limitations, I'm seeing a baseball player tomorrow he's had Tommy John surgery. Now he's worried about it coming back. And I'm going to literally walk in and go, congratulations, your elbow's stronger than it's ever been. Well, what's going to protect your shoulder? Because you're still throwing wrong. Now let's find a way to get you to Conor McGregor, hip drive the throw. The same thing we did with the guy walking. Hands on head, brought his feet back in. Now he became a little bit more hip driven. You and I live in the hip driven world. If you're not swinging a club with your hips, you're going to lose club head speed. I don't care what wedge you're using, you're going to scull it. You're not going to hit under the ball. So faith is tied to belief. And my job and all my therapists at Egoscue are very well versed on shut up, listen for the opening, and then ask a question. And then when they ask a question, you can come in with your expertise. Let me show you the diaphragm, blah, 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 blah. Well, that's great. But that's what we do. I need to know how this translates into how it affects that person. And when you get to how, Jeff, which you do very well, there's few people out there that can get to how because they don't have calm in their life. And I mean, I don't even know how to say it any differently than when you decide to have calm in your life, it's a whole different story. And I have it. You know, road rage doesn't affect me. You can drive the way you want to drive. I drive a 500 horsepower car, but it'll never be in a street race. You know, it'll never, because that's my ego taking over. And ego stands, in my opinion, for edging God out. And I end up killing somebody. Not fun. I'll give you a little story on that real quick, because judgment is one of the biggest things that shuts down all this belief system. There was a young kid, and I live in a small town here in San Diego, but it's a smallish town. Call it 8,000 houses or something, right? You know, that's what they do. This kid's driving like a 1994 Mustang GT, and he's coming through the downtown like a bat out of hell. I mean, he's flying. And I'm thinking, my God, there's a park there. There's a dog park. There's the middle school. There's the elementary. What is this kid doing? So I would be the jerk if I chased him. So I knew there were 2 red lights and I'll finally catch him. So then I started following him. Now he's thinking, who's the creeper following me? Kind of like the guy in Florida. And I caught him on a cul-de-sac where I rolled down my window and he rolled his down. He goes, what's up? And I said, beautiful car. I'm 55. I remember having one of these GTs in 1986 when they first started moving over to the 5-liter. Is that the 4.6 liter? Oh, yeah. Then I'm no longer there to fight him.
Right.
But I'm going to get my message across. And I said, Amazing. I said, you know what's going to ruin it for you with that car? When my son's leaving middle school and you run him over because of how fast you came through downtown. Please, for your own good, slow down, because your life will never be the same if you run over someone's dog or someone's kid or cause a wreck. And you know what his answer back to me was? I will absolutely do that. Thank you so much for not yelling at me. You have a way to communicate to your client, your customer, or to your lover, to your partner, to whoever, which is why I reference the Queer Eye stuff on Netflix, because I'm going to post about it. I'm going to film some of the show, probably get sued for it. Okay. But I'm going to say, you guys aren't watching this for any other reason than just listen to how they're speaking to this person and how they bring this young kid who was in a car wreck and he's in a wheelchair and he's thinking about suicide, and how they empower this kid to use his chair as a way to empower other people. And we're going to make it easy on you. We're going to pay your rent for the next year. Wow. So you got me into an apartment that's all wheelchair friendly. You got me new clothes so I can walk out with a shirt that says, look at me, versus don't look at me, I'm in a wheelchair, don't judge me. Why did God do this to me? Changing that belief system. I mean, I've been around that for 30 years. Robbins was one of my first clients I ever worked on. And his whole belief system was, why is it happening? And why is your reaction that way? What if you chose, what if, Pete Agoscu, what if your pain is there for a reason? And so that guy that got out of the shower, I would say to him, tell me more. Well, what do you mean? Okay, I don't need a video, thank you. But just tell me more about what you're really feeling. What did the cold water do? I understand that you felt like a new man. What new man? And just listen.
Mm-hmm.
So this whole belief system, I know we're off track a little bit on sports performance, but 70% of it is mindset. So I'll give you one more example. I did a podcast on breast implants. What the hell do I know about breast implants? Other than I'm a straight guy and I loved breasts when I was younger. Okay, great.
Wait, you don't still love them?
No, I love them. But see, I was the only kid out of 5 that breastfed. So my mom said I had a fetish. I don't know, something like that. But this young lady was doing a podcast on breast implant removal because of the toxins that go into that. No matter what, her body was fighting it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I couldn't get on there. And she said, well, what makes you the expert? And I joked and said, oh, I'm a heterosexual male, fan of boobs, blah, 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 breast fat, all this stuff. I'm joking around about it. But this is not a joking matter to her. And I said to her, but this isn't a joking matter. Call her Lisa. Lisa, this is not a joking matter. So forget what I just said. I have a question for you before we start. You're getting your breast implants removed in a week. Yes, I'm so excited. She's smiling. I said, hey, I just have a question for you. Why'd you get them in the first place? When you can answer that question, then you'll really be healed, because taking them out is not going to heal you as to why you were so insignificant without them. And I said, you better have a box of tissues before you start talking, because here it comes. Sure enough, she starts crying. And it's her podcast. But if all these women could learn one message, what about me didn't I like that I needed to go get that so other people liked me? And I'm not judging them. They look amazing. But why'd you get them? And to joke on the other side, my mother, she had liver tubes in, and I walk in and she's 80. She has her top off and she's cleaning the things. I go, Mom, come on, please. I'm your son. I can't see you like this. Put those away. And she goes, oh, you don't like my 36 longs. And we had that kind of relationship. And I'll remember that because they both passed away. But things like that they happen to you for a reason, but you got to be aware of yourself to be able to have those things happen to you. Otherwise, you're just going to skim by them.
What I love about our conversations, Brian, is that we go in way different directions than I ever would imagine. But they're always so poignant on deeper topics that mean so much more. And talking about the different, most of the people that we work with or that listen to the show, we're finding are kind of either they're in the fitness profession, they're in the medical profession, or they're the golfing crowd that's pretty much kind of in the, you know, the 35 and beyond, typically males. And what I found working with a lot of these guys is they find themselves in these positions where now they've been working, they've been raising a family, they've been, you know, working their tails off, they're at a job all day, and it's almost to the point where, you know, they just kind of get in this rut of doing their daily things, living life the way that they know how to live it, doing the best they can to get by to support their family, and they're not taking care of themselves. They're not doing the things that are going to, you know, really allow them. Let's forget about golf. I mean, golf is a big piece of it, but they're not allowing themselves the opportunity to live as fully as they can from a physical standpoint, from a longevity standpoint. And I think that it comes down to a lot of what you're talking about, of having some of that respect for yourself and understanding that the only way that we can take care of the other people in our lives is that we have to take care of ourselves first. And what are some of the strategies that you found to help some of these types of individuals maybe break that cycle, break that mental state of, you know, I'm doing all these things and I don't take the time to do it and take care of myself?
Okay, so if I heard you right, we, men, caveman, me, big dumb animal, men are from Mars, women are from Venus, and we get upset at the woman because she doesn't understand us, and she gets upset at us because we don't understand her. There's not a chance that's happening. Unless you realize at first, we're different.
Mm-hmm.
And as a man, I choose to self-deprecate a little bit and go, I'm the big dumb animal here. You better dumb your conversation down so I get it. And then I paraphrase stuff back to them. So when one of your guys, for example, let's say a fitness guy, there's a fitness guy on Instagram who always has his shirt off, long hair, looks like a really bad version of Jesus. I don't know. He's on there and he's like, so if you really want to, you know, back pain to go away, you got to do this. And I'm like, whatever floats your boat. But instantly I go to, my God, if this guy could only see himself through other people's eyes, and they're asking why. You might as well get breast implants because your shirt's off for a reason. Listen, I'm in pretty decent shape for 105 years old, but you're not going to see me going, look at that, yeah, that. When I post something, there's a reason I'm covered up. Because I don't need somebody coming in saying, you look like shit, or you look amazing. I don't need either one of those. But what I am going to do is I'm going to speak the truth that that person needs to hear. And Paul Chek said it perfectly about nutrition, which I really liked the way he said it. He said, look, there's a lot of people teaching nutrition out there. But if you can't teach nutrition without your shirt on, you shouldn't be teaching nutrition. Right? That was a pretty decent statement. But that's just not true. I'm an amazing pickleball coach. I'm even an amazing golf coach. Amazing table tennis. Amazing biking, downhill, boxing, baseball, because I'm a much better coach than I am player. When I watch a person throw, I'm looking not at where the ball is going. I'm looking at what they're doing, what's the release point, where's their elbow, all that stuff. And then simplifying it back to them. When I hear and see people speaking, if you said to me, Brian, can you critique this video of this person showing core abdominals and a triangle in yoga? I would say, yeah. Really, I don't even need to see it. Just turn it up. Let me hear the language first. Okay, now let me see it. Oh, okay. Now they're barely wearing anything. Okay, I get it. But if you're truly looking to affect people at a deeper inner level, then you got to speak their language that fits their how. How does it affect me and how does it make me better? So when I was saying, look, the biocharger's over my shoulder here. I have this in my office. I do 3 recipes a day. They're about 12 minutes long. If I'm reading a book, or like that book, I was doing some research in there yesterday. because I'm trying to get 3 things done at once. I only have so much time during the day. But when you can get a person, a male especially, because that's the question you asked me, mostly guys, when you can get a male to understand that he or she, see what I did there? Whether he or she can affect their lives in a positive way by thinking and acting differently, but you need to give them a reason to do it, which is how it makes them better, versus judging the guy without the shirt on doesn't speak to how it makes him better because he already thinks that does make him better. But let me tell you, sir, how it makes me feel on the other end. I tune you out instantly. So your valuable information gets tuned out a lot of times. Listen, I've probably tuned people out with, okay, every once in a while I drop a bad word. Okay, I get it. I've tuned them out with, God, this guy's loud and he loves to hear his own voice. I get it. I'm not for everybody. But the methods that I employ are absolutely for everybody. When you can get your aligned body first to do its job, then every other system, including your emotional reaction to something, changes. When you're out of alignment and incongruent, then so is your reaction to stressors. And that'll show up as I push the ball to the right. I suck at golf. When I made 50 of these before, I can't handle stress. I don't hear any we in there. This is just about I. Kobe Bryant, the Mamba mentality was not because I'm a failure. It's, I'm going to outwork everybody. Michael Jordan, I'm going to outwork everybody. But it wasn't to say to everybody. It was, I'm going to show you and I'm going to perform at this level. That takes a major shift in psychology.
Absolutely.
I know that was the longest answer to a very short question, but that's what you get.
That's all right. That's why we're here. Long form podcast, right?
Yep.
All right, brother. I know you got to get running. Is there anything else that that you wanted to mention? Anything you're up to before we let everybody go? And where's the best place people can go find you?
Yeah, guys, you can find me personally, and I answer all my own DMs. If you're confused about something, upset about something, if you want to know something else, go to Instagram under the Brian Bradley. THE Brian Bradley, because Brian Bradley was taken and the guy wouldn't sell it to me. You also have at Egoscue Method. I do have a URL, which could be egoscue.com/podcast. You do that, it'll move you into a place where you'll be opting in for some emails from us. And then if you want to talk to me personally, my team will get you in touch with me.
Excellent. Brian, always a great pleasure. Always fun to catch up with you. It's been way too long. And just thank you for coming on, helping out the 18 Strong crew, and look forward to bringing you on again in the near future, hopefully.
Near future would be a good thing instead of us waiting 5 years or whatever it was that we did, because
right.
There's a lot of good information. And, maybe we open it up to something where you allow some of your insiders to come on and ask questions. Good idea.
That's a great idea. We will definitely do that. And good luck with the pickleball, my friend. I expect to see some more pickleball videos.
Yeah, I don't need luck. I put in the work.
Spoken like a true champion. Thanks, Bri.
Buddy, love you. Talk to you later. Tell your tech crew thanks for the help, too.
You got it. Thanks, Bri. Thanks for joining us this week on the 18 Strong podcast with our good friend, Brian Bradley. If you want any more information on this episode, any of the links we talked about in the show, just go to 18strong.com. It's episode number 354. You'll find all the information over there. And don't forget to check out our partners, Link Soul and First Form. Train hard, practice smart, and play better golf.